Welcome to the CADWOLF tutorial on pie and donut charts. Now we're going to assume that you know what a pie chart is, obviously, but we're going to give a quick example to show you how they function in CADWOLF. And then we'll do a fairly detailed discussion of the plot dialog for a pie chart. And then we're going to show you an example of a donut and an example with multiple series. So we're going to start off in our example document. We've got two new sets of data here called data 1 and data 2, one with 4 entries and one with 5 entries. We'll add a plot, which opens the plot dialog, switch it to a pie chart, and we're already on chart data, so we'll add a data set, select it, and you see the only entries you have available to you are the labels and the data. So we're going to have data 1 here, and you see that it pulls that variable, and there's your pie chart from each of the 5 entries in that array. So in the labels, it's looking for a comma-separated text list that it will simply break up and display. So we're going to enter, let's say, a series of baseball teams here. Now you'll notice that for line charts, column charts, most everything else you have X, Y, and sometimes Z data that you can enter. If it's a heat map or something, you'll just enter an array of data. But for here, you're just looking for really a column of data. All right, there's your labels. Let's see. Oops, I entered opening and closing brackets, so we'll get rid of those. And there's your pie chart. We'll change this to baseball to show that it represents baseball teams. And there you have it. All right, so a plot dialog for a pie chart has the standard main section that'll hold the plot just like it's shown on the document. And on the right side, you have the section where you actually select the type of chart and edit all the information in it. So let's go through those in detail here. At the top, you have the section where you saw that you select the type of chart that you're dealing with, where we open it and select a pie chart. Just beneath that is the section where you'll select the type of item you're editing at the time. Here you can see we're editing the chart data. And in the middle there is a section where you add and delete instances and then select the instance that you're working on. You saw where we selected the data set that we added. And at the bottom, that section is populated with the options that are available for what you're editing at the time. In this case, you saw data. So for a pie chart, you have the standard entries available for you. For the data, you can add and delete data sets, edit it, and its appearance. Its appearance can be color, size, and all those things. The formatting is standard. You can change the legend, the size, the margins, and the title. The axes are there because every chart has default axes, but they're really kind of meaningless for a pie chart. Bands and lines are sort of the same thing because there's nowhere to actually put them on the axes. Text is the normal type of text entries where you can enter text and change its location and color and everything else about it. All right, so with that settled, let's go back to the plot dialog, and you can see that you have options to edit the data and the series like you do for every other type of chart. And here we'll show the labels there. And you see there's all sorts of options for edit how those labels look. For a pie chart, you can actually edit each point within a series as well, and we'll show that a little bit more later. So as for now, let's take a look at some of the options that you have within each pie chart. So let's go over to our series here. We're editing this series. We've only got one so far. Let's go ahead and turn the labels off. And let's see. So for the labels, you can show them as normal, percentage, or the raw data. So for each pie chart, you can change its start and stop angle, with 0 being the top, middle, and 360 being all the way around. So 0 to 180 carries it from the top, middle to the bottom. You can change the start angle where it begins its turn too, so it's not always at the top center. Let's go ahead and change this back to 360 so that it goes all the way around. And tell you what, let's make this a donut chart. As you can see, there's all sorts of options here for how the labels look, and we'll show a little bit of those options here in just a minute. But for now, let's say this inner radius we have, this works in a percentage. So let's change it to 50%. And you can see that creates a donut chart. Let's make that a little bit bigger. So we'll put it at 75%, and that looks good. The outside is at 100%. So let's add a second data set now. Select it, go over to the data for it, and we'll enter data 2. So as you can see, that chart starts at 0 and goes to 100, so it takes up the full view of the other one, but we're going to change that in just a second. So let's go ahead and enter some text for the labels, and we'll use football teams for this, just to give us something to show here. And let's see, I think that's enough. So there we go. Now our legend at the bottom is a little bit crowded. We've got some other issues that we're going to clean up here in a second. So let's change the size from 100 to 50. And as you can see, we've now created an instance where one series fits inside the other series. We'll change the label here for football just so we know which one we're dealing with. And so let's show some data and clean this up a little bit. Let's click back on the baseball option. We'll look at the series, and let's show the data set, or I'm sorry, the data labels for that on the outside there. And I think that looks all right. So you can change this to the actual labels that you entered when it says normal. There's the percentage. Now I entered these numbers so that their value would be a percentage of 100. So that sort of takes away some of the thunder there from that. But when you go back to normal, it shows that text that you entered there for the labels. So let's go and let's start by cleaning up the way the legend looks. So notice if we're showing the labels and then showing the legend at the same time, that's kind of double the amount of work we want to do. So let's show the legend on the left side there. We'll put it vertical. And let's go ahead and move it to the center here. Alright, and let's go back and let's get rid of the duplicates there since we're showing the data and the labels and in the legend. And we'll go to the bottom of the series and the data, and we'll turn that off from the legend. There we go. Alright. Now we'll turn the labels back on for the inner one, and we'll set that for the percentage. So now we're basically showing what those items are in the legend, and we're showing their value there in the labels. So we don't want those labels to sit over the outer pie chart or donut chart, so we'll pull them in a little bit. There we go. It looks all right. You can also change the color. You can set that to a negative value so it's actually inside of the chart. Let's go ahead and shrink that one a little bit. There we go. Alright, so let's go back over to the baseball set. And let's see. So the monocolor for most items, if you're doing it in a normal chart, will set every series data to be a recursive color. You have blue, green, red, and yellow. And here you can this just shows it applies to the one data set, and you can really change the appearance of a chart. I like the way this looks a lot when you just use the basic colors as opposed to the default. So going back to this single point, we enter the first index and then hit enter. That's important. You have to enter after entering the one there so you know which one you're dealing with. And then we clicked the sliced option, and as you saw, we pulled it away from the rest of the chart. And then we'll unselect it and push it back. So you have all the options available for every point that you would normally have for the entire series. So if there's something you want to emphasize about a given section of a pie chart, you can do that. So there's a donut chart with an inner chart inside of it. Let's go ahead and show two charts side by side. So we'll leave the start angle at 0 for this and change the ending point for 180, so it goes just basically occupies the right side of the chart. Now the proportions stay the same. We're just taking up half of the actual chart. And for the Second set of data will do the same thing. Now, we kind of messed up here because we set the start and stop a little backwards, so it's going all the way around for each data set. So once we've got that entered correctly, it works out correctly. So we'll change the size back to its full size. And there you go. There's two charts side by side to make a full one. And that's basically pie charts and donut charts. You can add as many series as you like and format them in any way you see fit. Well, that does it for pie and donut charts in CADWOLF. Make sure you take a look at the documentation, which is in the documentation workspace, for all the options available to you. And make sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks.